Hey everybody, it's Desiree and welcome to Road2Par the podcast. Here we'll be helping you enhance your golf experiences through a little education, a little entertainment, and events and travel. So stay tuned. We have some live interviews that'll be coming up and just talking more in depth about the golf community and where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. So stay tuned for your Road to Par. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Welcome to Road to Par the podcast. I am so excited. It's your girl Desiree, and I am joined by two amazing people doing amazing things. I want to introduce you all to Coach Walker. Coach Andy Walker has an extensive resume in the golf industry, and we are just excited to have him on. In addition to Mr. Tariq Ty Mr. Golf, Mr. Everything. And they are doing an amazing project called the UGA. And can one of y'all let me know what the UGA is and what we're doing with it?
Andy?
Well, Ty, how about this? How about you introduce the UGA and I'll introduce the project?
Perfect. All right. Sounds good. I can do that. So, United Golfers Association, I'll try to be concise with this, but basically what we're doing is we are relaunching an organization that was originally launched in 1925. It started because there was a lack of opportunity for African Americans to be able to play locally within certain major cities, i.e. one of them was Chicago, Philly, Boston, and DC. But the major piece was they were unable to play on the PGA Tour because there was something in the bylaws of the PGA of America and the USGA at the time that stated that only people of the Caucasian ethnicity were able to play to be members of the two organizations. And so because of that, it limited the opportunity for African Americans to be able to play casually, but also to be able to play professionally. So they weren't able to play in local tournaments that were just regular tournaments that were like at Jackson Park Golf Course in Chicago, but neither were they allowed to be able to play on some of the PGA sanctioned events. And so it came to, there's a lot of things that happened in the next 40 years up to 1961, where there was, after 14 lawsuits that were brought to the USGA and the PGA, they finally took the bylaws off of the organization to allow and open it up to African Americans to play. After that, unfortunately, because of a similar situation that happened with the Negro League, is that once they allowed one to play, they said you no longer have use or need for the other organization, and that organization unfortunately was UGA. So over the next 13, 14 years, UGA slowly fizzled away because of lack of resources, support, and other access to things, because they were still having issues with getting access to some of the PGA events, which, to be honest, they were some of our greats that we all call our legends. So Jim Dent played on the UGA tour, the Jim Thorpe, Renee Powell, Charlie Siffer, Lee Elder, Mr. Speedy. A lot of these people who are legends, who we look at, Ann Gregory, a lot of these folks who we look at now, we say, wow, these are our greats. All of these people played on the UGA tour before they played on the PGA tour. So that's how they got their teeth cut. And then that's when they were able to play in some of the major opportunities. Well, not major opportunities, but that's how they were able to play on the PGA tour. So after 75, the UGA kind of fizzled away. And 45 years later, I had the idea of trying to understand what was happening and why we weren't seeing a lot of African Americans on the tour. It wasn't a new idea. We've been fussing about this for years and decades. However, it just bothered me. It bothered me more because I was getting more involved in the golf industry outside of what I was doing before. And I was just seeing that it was a frustration that was across the board with a lot of Black folks who play golf and those who are looking from the outside in, who not even in the industry. And they basically I said, well, let me do the research. I bought a bunch of books, did the research, found out a lot of information that I wanted to know, but was also very disappointed in reading as I got through a lot of the details. So I quickly I dug my feet into the organization and understood some of the history of it, reached out to some people who have been members and people who were kind of old school who knew about the organization. And they basically encouraged me to say, just go ahead and make it happen, because no one else, people are complaining about it, but they're not doing anything about it. They said, well, Tarek, if you're passionate about it, if you want to make this happen, then you're going to have to make it happen. So I did. I just started digging through things, and then I was introduced to Andy virtually, and Andy and I kind of really got jamming, and a blessing happened. He was able to fill in a lot of things that I wasn't aware of or didn't have access to, and because he's done so many amazing things over his span of 40 years of playing in the sport, it was just an amazing bond that we had. And it wasn't just the organization, but we've become very, very close friends over this and throughout this process. And I really consider him as a very close friend outside of what we've put together. But with his brain and his resources, and with what I've done in the industry and what I have access to, we really have a great opportunity to do something very special. And that is what UGA, or United Golfers Association, is. And we've taken the legacy of it, which was really more of a tour, and we've actually added more to it and built in an academy. And that's what Andy is going to be leading the charge for.
Awesome. And and correct me if I'm wrong, UGA actually had kind of, when it went into later years, was it also referred to the Chitlin Tour? Was that correct?
Chitlin Circuit.
Okay, Chitlin
Yes.
Circuit. And then how long did that run? Is that still going on?
That was part of the 70s. That was after 61. People were calling it different names, but it ended up blending into what is now called the Chitlin Circuit.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much, Ty, because I mean, it really means a lot to be able to have something that, as a Black golfer, we are coming into different times, right? So going into everything with society, I think it is very much incumbent that we look at how much diversity is in the golf industry. So, Coach Walker, I mean, taken into an academy standpoint, how do we help our young golfers, young African-American golfers, make headway in this industry that oftentimes is not related, sent to us, not related to us, not approached to us? How are you going to do that with the UGA?
It's funny that you asked, that we have that prepared. The UGA Academy is going to be, and Ty always said, thanks for the kind words, Ty. I almost cried for a second, and blah, 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 blah. But Ty said one day, this is going to be the largest and most intentional diversity effort in the history of the game. And when he said that, it struck such a chord with me in what a lot of us have been thinking and doing on a smaller scale. And Ty brought a structure and an organization together to where I could pretty much, I think, live out what I was called to do in this game. And so, like he said, I've been in the game for 40 years. I don't know how, and I'm only 30 years old, but I've been doing this stuff in the game for
Dating you already, huh?
Come on now, Ty. But what we're going to do with the Academy is we're going to give access and resource and opportunity to those that haven't had it before. And kind of a short story long, because Ty knows I can get a little long-winded, especially when we get to talking about golf and producing African-American professional golfers and golf professionals. Inside of that, there are I'll just be blunt with you. There's been a few of us that have played at the highest level, and all of us had really good access and opportunity to do so. And so Tiger grew up with the best of instruction and finances behind him, and look what it created, the best player ever, probably in any sport ever. And the same with Harold and Joseph and Cameron and myself and a lot of the players that have gotten over there. We've had access and opportunity, and we've made the most of it. There haven't been any players really since the Chitlin Circuit from the hood. And so, and it just doesn't have to be players from the hood that haven't got there, but there's been so many programs that are very grassroots level that introduce us to the game. What happens from there? You know, we kind of get left off right when we start to show a little bit of promise in the game. There is no opportunity access to get to the next level. And inside of the system, golf is a very exclusive sport. And it makes sure that you have to be inside the ropes to stay inside the ropes. And so it's hard to get from outside the ropes to inside the ropes. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be bringing players inside the ropes. I'll kind of explain the UGA Academy in a nutshell. Is going to be 5 different stages to the Academy. Stage 1 is the grassroots level. Stage 1, there are hundreds of grassroots level programs around the country. We know them from, I grew up playing in Desert Mashie, which was part of Western States Golf Association. There, Dr. Dorsey has an organization in Orlando that they've done a lot of great things. Selena Johnson with Hollywood Golf up in Detroit. You have some of the first T chapters, just programs all around the country that introduce players to the game. What we're going to do is we're going to provide them with resources. We're going to provide them with training for their instructors, and we're going to provide them monetary support to make sure that those grassroots programs can sustain and continue to produce our next crop of players that the UGA are going to take over and develop into the next wave of professional golfers. Stage 2 is our junior tournament prep series. The junior tournament prep series is going to be the players that are past intro level and are starting to play junior golfers, and we're going to show them the ropes, everything it is to be a tournament golfer, not only from rules, but mechanics of the swing into scoring and so many different aspects to give them a great leader, kind of a warm welcome into the tournament world, so they're not just thrown in the deep end without a paddle or without any floaties, and a lot of them drown. So we're going to provide that next level. We're going to do that inside of 8 yearly camps that we host for them. Stage 3 is our junior tournament prep series, or junior tournament player series. The junior tournament player series is we have a lot of these players. These are, 50 to a couple of hundred African-American players that are playing junior golf. We're going to bring them in. They are going to reside at the academy. There's going to be an education component to it. They will be doing the school part in the morning, golf in the afternoon, but this is where we up the ante of their training. And we're going to make sure that they're not only introduced to the biomechanics of the game and scoring and everything, but also fitness and nutrition, how to travel, scheduling events, and bringing them with our connections to the next level of tournament play. These are going to be your players that end up playing in college and eventually on the tour, if that's what they choose to do. Our stage 4 is going to be really exciting. This is going to be the UGA Junior National and UGA Amateur National teams. These are going to be the best players in the world. These are going to be our players that we have groomed through the process, and now we're going to not only play tournaments domestically, they're going to be trained like tour players, obviously staying on campus just like the phase 3 players, but we're going to be playing international competition with these players as well, taking them around the world and exposing them to the next level of golf where these players are going to be ranked in the world. From there, we're also going to have a train the trainer, and we're going to support HBCU golf. And we're going to help get those coaches up to the next level with equipment, whether it's technology, everything they can as far as monetary support and getting scholarships to those programs to where we can make sure that those HBCU programs not only can flourish and survive in these times, but they become the choice for African-American players coming out of high school. Phase 5 is going to be our UGA professional staff. And these are a lot of the players that we see out there now that are being successful. Kind of the face of our UGA Academy and professional staff is Kamayu Johnson. And we saw he just won the Advocates Tour Championship. There's so many young players out there that are just this close to getting to the top level, whether it is with resources as far as facilities, whether it's some monetary support, whether it is sponsorship, whether it is career guidance, whether it is just fellowship with some of the tour players that came before them. It's going to be a whole package. And so, like we say, we're gonna raise these players from the ground up. And it's going to be a family affair, and it takes a village to raise a tour player, and that's what we're going to provide them.
Absolutely. And oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. First of all, it sounds like,
you didn't know what you were getting into,
up, right? So I know, right? So where will the academy be? Because I know that you both are centralized in Florida. So will camps be centralized in Florida? That's my first question.
Originally, yes, and our home base is going to be here in Florida. Right now, we're finalizing between a couple of places where we're gonna call home.
Okay.
So it'll be either more than likely in the Orlando area or in South Florida. I would say that probably 90% is going to be in Orlando just for access, and it's an easy place to get to. And Ty lives there already, so he's kind of giving me that thing that it's better if I move north than he moves south. So, but with that being said, yeah, it's going to be a Florida-based academy, and so, but eventually, like I said, it will branch out. But we're going to have the main academy in one spot where we have our hands on the players daily, and we can produce the best, professional golfers and, like I said, golf professionals.
Now let me ask you both this question because, and you all know, at Ty, we've been friends for years now, and working with different projects and talking through the years with different golf components. When we talk about youth golf, how do we look at transitioning our youth from, say, a first tee program to a high school program to a college program? Because, like, for instance, I have a 7 and an 8-year-old cousins, and I said, okay, they got to get into golf, right? Like, they've got to have more of us involved. And so they do the program until a certain point. But then when I look at my local golf association program and events, I don't see it. So how do we keep our youth engaged to get to that point? Because I know sometimes that can be an issue too in trying to keep them engaged and have access along the way.
You want me to get that?
I mean, I have my own thoughts, but I think that I can add in something in my own, what I think in my mind when you finish.
So it's a great question, and the solution is we're going to be working with them all together, and we flourish when we get to work as a team. And so it goes back to, we're not recreating the wheel. This has been done. I did it at an academy before where I produced tour players, and what we're going to do is we're going to bring all of the players, like your nieces and nephews, to the facility when they are practicing around like-minded individuals in a group where they can see 20 to 30 kids that look like them that are all doing the same thing. That's the encouragement we need. I used to get so excited when we were early in our careers, and I'd show up to a tournament knowing that a Tim O'Neill or a George Bradford or somebody was there. And George and I traveled a lot together. Tim and I traveled a lot together. But when we were early on and we would show up and see each other, it was such an exciting moment. We had some support, right? Because we're playing a golf, tournament, and in a sport where we don't see us, right? And especially we don't see us being successful. At the time, I'm the same age as Tiger, so I grew up playing with and against Tiger, but it was a little different, right? I mean, you had us that kind of bonded, and then other people were doing their things separately. So it was but when we do it under an umbrella together, and they are reaching goals and successes together, not only are we going to produce the best golfers, because your niece and nephew, some of my students may not end up being the next Tiger Woods or Cheyenne Woods on tour, but they could end up being the next general manager for a top club. They could be a board member for a top manufacturer. They could be a tournament director for one of the top PGA Tour events. They're going to permeate throughout the industry with the training we give them, because not only are we going to produce them to be the top players, we're going to give them education and certification to start their careers at the next level and not have to start from the bottom.
Okay. Ty, I know you said you had a little something for me.
Yeah, I think we have to look at the, there's the teens, and I think that's where there's a gap. Andy and I talked about this earlier today, and, there is a plethora of them out there, and they're playing in different kinds of programs, whether it be local programs where they are within like grassroots programs that are not well funded, but then there's the kids who are in the first tee programs. And then you have kids who go to high schools or middle schools where they have golf programs already there and they're on those teams, but they're participating in all these other events and competitive atmosphere, like, you know, the AJGAs and Hurricane Tour and all these others where they invite kids from all over the U.S. to come and compete. But I think where I'm going with this is that those kids look at the top sports and they look at the figures and they try to find someone who looks like them and then try to mirror that, or just say, look, I want to be like Ronaldo, you know, so I want to play soccer. I want to be like Michael Jordan. So I want to play basketball. I want to be like, you know, Cam Newton. I want to be a quarterback. But right now, what we have to do is we need more faces on tour that look like them. We have 5 actually, because in Corn Ferry, we include Corn Ferry. But because unfortunately we don't control the media,
right.
The media is not putting a lot of eyeballs on our guys that we need. You know, so a lot of these kids aren't watching golf. They're watching other sports. They're playing on. When we grew up watching golf in like 96, 7, 8, 9, 10, like in the 2000, we weren't on video games as much as these kids are now. Now these kids live on their cell phones. So they're not watching Golf Channel. They're not looking at NBC on a Saturday or a Sunday, you know. But I would say that a good responsibility, and I talked to someone else about this, is that it's the responsibility of the Black fathers who play golf. We go and we escape home and we go play golf with our friends and our buddies, but we don't take our kids. You know, we don't include our
wives or your girlfriend sometimes.
You know, and we don't bring y'all either.
Hey.
You know? But we as fathers who play golf avidly,
right?
We go play, but we're not bringing our boys. Right. You know, we're not exposing them to the thing that we love the most. And, you know, we love our family, but we love our golf. Right. But we don't make sure that our son's sitting next to us to watch it. We're not taking him to a tournament to go watch. We go with the fellas because it's guy time. Right. Well, it's time that we have to make some changes in that. And I just want to challenge fathers to say, you know, look, just go to Top Golf, go to the range. You know, maybe not a whole full round of golf, but bring them to the round of golf and let them sit in the car next to you and watch you play, watch your methodology and how you choose shots and how you hit, watch you make mistakes and then make great shots and look at your emotions and how you handle yourself. That's going to help them say, you know what, this actually is kind of cool. Dad, let me hit a shot. Right. Or give him the club. Let him do something. You know, I think that's going to help.
And that's a huge part of it, right? So getting our sons and daughters to see not just the sport as in a player, but to your point, Andy, one of the things I think that was interesting is I did a podcast a few weeks ago with a superintendent. The superintendent sometimes is the highest paid person on the golf course, if not the second highest paid when you go to these country clubs. And he mentioned a program called the First Green Program. I don't know if either one of you have seen or heard it at some of your clubs. But I think a big part about changing the industry, not just from a player standpoint, but like if you look at, say, football. I don't know about you guys. I'm a big football fan. My team is a whole new name now, so that's a whole nother conversation. But for instance, we have a lot of our youth who play football, right? And from that, some will go on to play, but some will go on to actually be coaches. Mm-hmm. All right. So then let's take golf into consideration. How many of our youth get to spend so much time in the sport that they can branch off, right, and become Coach Walker or be like Ty, the golf businessman who has literally tons of golf businesses and has explored so many things. But that's important, right? So we have to know, like, you know,
there's more into it,
yeah. I mean, I jumped into this game a lot later than you all did. And Ty knows my passion for golf is just, I'm just going with it. But when I say that, I mean, it's important for our youth and people who are just coming out of college to realize there are other opportunities. And so I applaud you all for starting something that will not just be for the players, but the people looking on, right? So now we can add Black sportscasters to the golf roster. We can add Black photographers to the field that are out there, videographers, other coaches. And I think, and you both know this, go to the PGA show every year. Maybe we're 10%, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. It's
much less.
Who are there on so many levels that at the end of the day, it's important that these programs like you all creating UGA are existing because opportunity.
Well, right. Not to cut you off, but saying that, you know, in the PGA of America, we're less than 0.5% of the PGA of America are African American, you know, professionals, and that's a sad case. So what we're going to do is we're going to take all of the excuses off the table. You're not going to be able to tell us in 3, 4, 5, 10 years, you know, where are all these PGA professionals for these positions? Where are the qualified pool of applicants? We're going to take that off the table and we're going to train them. The good thing about where we're going to end up with the facility and the golf course is us having ownership in it, us owning it. We're going to be able to train them because people don't realize to get into the PGA of America, you have to work at a facility.
Yep.
I was going to tell you to share that, Andy.
PGA of America.
Is that a green grass facility? Because I knew there were some stipulations on that, right?
Well, yeah, and it's not always, it depends who's doing the hiring. It's always, you know, there's always going to be an extra level of protection from us. Everyone's going to give us the Heisman. Not only do you have to be the green grass facility, you have to be 21 and you have to be born on a Thursday. And it's like all these different things for us, right? So we're going to take, when we own a facility, guess what? You get to start in at an early age. And so now by the time, you know, we want our players going into college and definitely leaving college with Class A professional status. So now we can flood the market with qualified professionals. And like, just like you said, they can permeate into every, you know, asset of the business. And then we start to really make a mark on this game from the inside. And then we know what happens. Once we get inside and we start doing well, it's just going to permeate and we're going to be the industry leaders.
Well, listen, I first of all appreciate you all coming on the show. I feel like that's been a big part of the lack of representation in the industry is also the lack of representation in media. We have to get our faces out here. We have to get, you know, our information and our history. Ty, you posted a video from, I think it was like the 1930s. The UGA
1939.
In California, correct?
Yeah, it was at Riverside Golf Course.
I mean,
right outside of LA.
Who knew?
This was in 1939. It was actually UGA, was the host of the event. So this is the 14th annual National Open Championship. And this is 1939, and it was the 14th annual. Right. So it just shares with you, you know, just the history. Like, we've been playing golf for a long time. And, you know, to dip into that, like you said, it's representation. But we have to see our face, you know, and if our face is not being seen, then they're assuming that we're not interested. But we surely are interested and we surely are eager. We just are looking, we've always been asking for permission, asking for, hey, do you mind if can I get a job? Can I work for free so I can do this just so I can be in the mix? But, you know, that time is gone. You know, Andy and I are like, nope, no more, you know, asking and saying, please, can I have, you know, we're going to go get this thing. You know, we're going to need the help from everybody. You know, from the parents to the kids to those who are playing in high school and college to the coaches at the HBCUs and those who are not at the HBCUs and at the PWCs, and as well as just the average golfer to really get behind what we're doing. I mean, our campaign is I Am UGA, and that's going to be a campaign that you'll see flooding throughout Instagram and Facebook over the next couple of weeks and throughout our history of what we're going to be doing, because it's about numbers. You know, if we don't claim it now, you know, while the conversation is happening, you know, it will get looked over like many other things that we fought for, that we needed, that they said, well, they really weren't serious about it, so it's no big deal.
Well,
But that's not going to happen here.
I know the two of you, and I know the two of you are very serious. I know that this conversation is not going to just dwindle away, and we're going to keep pushing it and expanding on it. And so I do appreciate the both of you and all the hard work that you've put in for the rest of us out here.
Thank you.
Guys, I just want to say thank y'all for coming on. This is I
No,
know this is just the beginning. I feel like we could do like multiple hours of these.
Yeah, there's a lot. But you know,
so how do we get in touch with UGA? Like, how can we donate? How can we email, website? Tell us what to do. Social media.
so for social media, basically just type in United Golfers Association on Twitter. Well, Instagram and Facebook, we're United Golfers Association. On Twitter, we're UGA Academy.
Okay.
As it relates to finding us online, you can go to UnitedGolfersAssociation.org, or if that's too long, you can go to UGA.golf, and it will take you to the same place. And you can go there. You can see all the stages that Andy was talking about. It's under the tab of Path to the Tour. And then there's another section that goes through the history of UGA and how we got here, what's happening with us now, and what's at stake if we don't take the baton and run with this thing all the way around the track. But then there's the other part, which is the giving side. And, you know, no nonprofit organization exists without the support of members and people who believe in the cause and the mission of what we're doing. So what we've done is we've set up on the website where you can donate like one time, just like $100 for forever. But you could also do, you know, $25 a month, $25 a quarter, $25 a year. You could choose how frequent you want to be able to donate to UGA to make your, to really put your stake in it. Because there's a lot of conversations happening. And, you know, we see it in a lot of the groups that we're on, Desiree and Andy, on Instagram and Facebook. And people say, well, I want to help, but I don't know how.
Right.
Well, this is how.
You are a 501c3, correct?
Yes.
So that's important for people to know. I mean, that's something, you know, a lot of people always ask, you know, what kind of nonprofit? And I think that goes a long way that you all have established that. And, you know, these are plans in motion, and you guys are actually taking action. And so I applaud you all for that. So
thank you.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having us. This is
I'm
actually our
excited
that we've done together. So mark this down in history. And it's gonna be the last.
And
it's the first one. Desi, we gave it to you.
Huh? This
is our first one together with the podcast together, so we gave it to you. So you're the first one.
Oh, I feel so yay! Listen, like I said, you and I have been talking for years, and we've smoked cigars together, and we haven't played golf yet, which is ironic enough, right?
We haven't?
I don't think we have.
We gotta fix that. It's gonna get cold in DC real soon. So
you already know I'm coming south. Let this cold calm down.
Yeah, well, hey, you know, airplane tickets are cheap right now. Well, but I would say this, Desi. One of the important things is this: as we're leading into like the fall, there's going to be a lot of charity golf tournaments. People are going to still have their events for their nonprofits, their church, you know, their fraternities and sororities and other organizations. What we want to be is we want to be one of the small beneficiaries or the beneficiary of a lot of these charity golf events. Everyone's raising money for different things and golf related and non, but, you know, always consider that UGA can also be a beneficiary of your charity golf event. You know, if you're looking to do something, you just want to donate, you know, as yourself, as an organization, or if you're part of a much larger corporation and you run your foundation, or you're somehow involved in DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, you know, consider golf programs, because right now a lot of the major sports, the football, basketballs, as you can see as we watch major sports on TV, there's a lot of change. Yeah. You know, there's change in golf as well, but golf is a different kind of a sport that won't have many, you know, issues as it relates to groups playing together as long as it's done properly. But thank you again. You know, Desi, we have to, you know, like the events that you do in Upper Marlboro, you know, if there's opportunities, we'd be more than happy to send you some literature that you can hand out to your clients and friends, because the more people know about it, the greater impact we can provide, and to make sure that everyone's going to be taken care of, because it's what we're doing is going to make a generational change. Right. Not just for us and our kids. This will last for generations, because everyone will be affected.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for coming on and for the work y'all do. And I look forward to touching base and seeing where UGA is, where it's going, how we can help. Road2Par is definitely on board. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day. First of all, I just like to highlight the fact that you have 3 entrepreneurs who are on here right now, and it's a holiday, and the grind does not stop. So
no.
listen, the dedication is real. And so I do want to thank y'all for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
Take care. Well, thank you for joining us for another wonderful show of Road2Par, the podcast. We just wanted to remind you that views, thoughts, and opinions expressed on Road2Par, the podcast, are that of the hosts and Road2Par LLC. All of our guests, callers, advertisers are independently of their own. So thank you again for joining us, and look forward to having you join us on our Road to Par.